can see you, Kirk. Can you see me?
I'm bloodsucker. You dirty work now. Do you? Do you?
So of course.
I'm Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation Starship Enterprise.
Welcome to the Trek Brothers podcast. I'm Chris.
I am Tosk. And I'm Shaun.
I am Tosk. I liked that. That was good. Oh, how you doing, Shaun? Are you surviving San Diego, like riot land right now?
Well, yeah, there aren't any riots as far as I know. I haven't heard of anything yet. But let me tell you this real quick. So where Trump was at today is the same place as where Comic-Con, SD Comic-Con is every year. And I was looking at the TV. I didn't go down there. I didn't want to deal with it. But I was watching CNN and watching the clips of it. And it's so much more organized for Trump and the Trump supporters and the Bernie supporters, the anti-Trump ralliers down there, than it is for Comic-Con. Because the street's completely cleared. Everyone's on their own side. When you're down there for Comic-Con, it's just one giant cluster of nonsense.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
Cons are always a disaster.
Yeah.
Oh, it's always bad to try to get in over there. Can you imagine like the Batmobile like on fire tonight, like when you're watching like the riots and like they're on top of it, they have like the traffic cone and they're just like beating the Batmobile with it, the rioters. Oh man. So you need that shielding they have in Batman 89 where it's ching 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 goes all over it. Even the wheel has armor.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay safe tonight, Shaun. So if we hear sirens, we know it.
Yeah, I will. I'm sure it's fine.
Okay. Unlike San Diego, I don't know if Trump's ever going to come to Pueblo, but if that's ever a thing, like Pueblo will just be destroyed. We can't handle a riot over here. Can't even handle the chili festival over here. Oh man. Well, we have a podcast to do, I guess. A podcast about Trek. You know, I had like a binge Trek yesterday that was not planned. Funny enough to mention on the show. Because I've been sick, so I was laid up in bed, and lucky enough, if anybody ever wants Trek, just go to the BBC channel. And it was like all of season 7, unfortunately, though. Season 7 of TNG. And I have to say, I like when Deanna Troi is a piece of cake. Like, she's just cake. Remember that? Did you like that?
I do.
Yeah,
I remember it.
I like when she's cake. Like, for a while, you know, when I was, like, coming in and out of consciousness because of the flu, like, I thought I was hallucinating, and then I was just like, no, wait, this is just season 7 of TNG. She's just cake. We should do a political podcast, I swear. That'd be fun. Alright, so since we have a captive audience, let's get to, I was trying to make a joke about Captive Pursuit, but I don't know. It didn't come out. Let's get to News Track.
All hands, brace for impact.
So, what's going to make Chris mad this week about the new Star Trek film? Simon Pegg explains what the deal is with that new Star Trek base. So, everybody that's seen the second trailer, we had an episode, oddly enough, about the trailer. A non-traditional episode, special edition episode, if you were, Trailer Trash, which I thought was pretty good. And of course in the trailer you see this ridiculous space station, but I didn't realize just how ridiculous the space station was, because when I saw it in the trailer, like, I thought they were just on Earth. Like, for some reason I thought that was just a planet, but then, like, this is a base. I swear, every time this movie. Anyway, what do you think about this article here?
Yeah, so it's a base that's on the outskirts of Federation space, is what he was saying. And yeah, I don't know, why is it so big? And I mean, when you saw space stations in the original series, the very few times that you would, like, they weren't giant encompassing starship apparatus machines just floating around. They were much smaller, much more reasonable. I don't know. I don't understand why this thing is big. And then Simon Pegg's kind of take on it is a little weird as well. I don't remember the exact quote, but his whole, this is a hub where everyone gets together and just kind of talk about their adventures. And it's just like, like an old Star Trek. And it's like, that never happened in Star Trek ever, even on Deep Space Nine, which is a show about a station.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. Let's talk about that for a second, because I think that's like the penultimate space station is Deep Space Nine, which is more or less, it's a good analogy, because that's at the edge of Bajoran Federation space. Well, I don't know too much about that, actually. Like, where does Cardassian space begin? Where does Bajoran, like, I always imagine, like, Bajoran space was just kind of like a neutral zone, buffering from the Cardassian Empire and the Federation. Do you know for sure? Specifically,
I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, what you're saying sounds about right to me, but
that's how I imagined it. And Deep Space Nine being like the last outpost in the Federation before you get to that Cardassian space, before that neutral zone area of the Bajorian space. So, like, the way that I always view Deep Space Nine is very much like the way that Simon Pegg describes this, but the way you see Deep Space Nine is it's just kind of a transit hub, if anything, but like a militarized transit hub. And that's exactly the way I think of Deep Space Nine, but like this just seemed like these people are like living out in like the worst possible area. It just seemed like, why would you build such a complex station in a place where it just seems like they're on the verge of war all the time?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know, just weird. Anyway, go check out IGN article. Post it in the notes, everybody. Everybody listen to it. Everybody read it, I should say. Second bit of news. So there's the 2016 version of the 1775 Olive Branch petition. You like how I put that in there? So this happened yesterday, or last week, when we were doing our show. And I made mention about Zachary Quinto and what's his name? Justin Lin, Jeremy Lin, I don't know. Something Lin.
Justin Lin.
Yes, Justin Lin, the director, doing a panel discussion. And in this Guardian article, Star Trek Beyond trailer redeems fan franchise. They describe like this panel as an olive branch, and like the actual olive branch being like the trailer, but like somehow that this is like an apology for the first trailer and to assure the fans it's gonna be okay. So once again, it's like, why do people need to have to apologize for a film that's not even been seen yet? Like, that makes me so skeptical about stuff.
Exactly, and why do they have to apologize for a trailer?
Yeah, like, nobody's apologizing for the Ghostbusters trailer. They just did it, man. That's punk rock right there. Like, they just did. They said, screw everybody's opinion. But it just seems like they don't want to... I don't know why, like, the Star Trek fan base would be... Why they're so worried about upsetting the quote-unquote fan base. I don't... The fan base is already mad at that series anyway, so that's my thing. But like, it's really funny at this, and this happened at Paramount Studios. So like, I gotta give you my opinion about this, and then I want to hear your opinion about this, also, Sean. So I'm pretty sure everybody that was invited to this thing by Paramount Studios knows somebody that probably works at Paramount Studios, either related or knows somebody or is related to somebody that's actually worked on the film. So I'm pretty sure everybody that attended this thing is not like just, Joe Blow off the street. And I guess one of the pictures that just kind of offended me, and it's just at the very top, is just these random girls just in green. And so when you look at them, you're just like, oh, that's supposed to be an Orion girl. But it looks so like afterthought that it was just like, like 6 girls or so like walked in. They're just like, hold on, we got to pander to the fans. So we're going to paint you green and put you in white bras, and you're going to be all right. And you're going to be called the fans. And, I've gone to conventions a lot, and that's not how it's done. But you could just tell it's obviously done like that. I also have an inkling that this picture is photoshopped. If you look at the girl, like, if you look at the hair particularly, like, the hair looks really fake to me. So I'm thinking somehow like the green on these people was Photoshop. I don't know. I'm so suspicious of this. But anyway, I don't like this. But what's your opinion of all this stuff here?
Well, I tend to agree with you in the fact that I don't think that I don't think they're fans. Because the caption does say fans. I'm just like, no, I feel like this is part of the publicity stunt. Like, I don't think it's necessarily photoshopped. It's just probably poorly made up. And so they look a little weird. And I think it had something to do with Paramount or somebody involved within the movie or the promo or the PR of the movie to have these ladies out there dressed like this. But I don't think it was like a ground up fan, let's go dressed like Orions but not in weird clothes kind of thing. As the caption on the photo of this particular article kind of tries to insinuate.
Yeah. Well, there's a little bit of interesting news tucked away in this. And it turns out, well, this says, here, I'll just read this paragraph here. It says, a teleprompter guided Savage, that's the person who kind of like hosted this thing, through interviews with producer Abrams, Lynn, Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, and Carl Urban, though they all cheerfully went off script repeatedly during the course of the night. In particular, now, okay, this is going to be a stupid statement, and then I'll get to like the big news after this. In particular, J.J. Abrams riffed on the uncomfortableness of the silly-looking chairs, because, that's like a hipster thing to do, Abrams. They were forced to sit in and announced that Lynn convinced Paramount to drop a lawsuit directed at the makers of the unlicensed fan film Axanar. What do you think about that, Sean?
So, have you done any follow-up? So I read this article, but I just read this article today. Have you done any follow-up? Did they actually drop the lawsuit? Because I don't think they have. I think I would have heard something about that by now.
No. In fact, here is an article from Trek Today. This thing is very much alive. I'll post this in the notes also. Trek Today has an article that says there's a counterclaim already filed against the claim, that the case has not been dropped yet. Now, there's another article from techdirt.com. I'll post this likewise in there. And the title of this article is Star Trek fan film X and Our Lawyers Tell Court About J.J. Abrams' Claims a Paramount Dropping Suit Express Confusion. So, what this initially happened as what I imagine here, I'll go ahead and post these right now so you can go and take a look at these. I think Abrams just spoke off the cuff and might be like eating his words. Because here's two articles that pretty much prove that the exact opposite is true. For one, like, there's a counterclaim on the claim, and for two, that the lawyers for Axanar are like, oh, really? They dropped the suit? So, I don't know why Abrams went off the cuff like that. I don't know why he said that.
And to talk about things that he doesn't know about.
No. And, then this says in here, in this Guardian article that we were talking about just a second ago, it says, the Star Trek community has long tradition of amateur productions and fan fiction, so this development was met with great enthusiasm by the audience. What if he just lied to all those people, man?
I don't know.
That's so weird. Thing. I know, this was the craziest thing to come out of this thing. Like, when I read this, I was like, alright, I'm pretty pissed already, because, like, the fact that this film even needs defending that, I already know that I'm already upset about. Forget that. Like, all of a sudden, like, the whole, like, Star Trek Beyond just, like, went in the back of my mind. Didn't even care about it anymore. And I was like, what the heck is this guy doing? I don't know about, like... I don't know how big this can be. Because I know that sometimes there's gag orders on cases, right?
Right.
So, like, say if they were in arbitration or something, like, or if they were trying to, if Paramount was deciding that they didn't want to pursue, or just, like, settle, right? That they wanted to settle the case with Axanar. Right. There could be terms of agreement, like, by saying that they're going to do that, that could be a breach of I don't know, conduct or whatever you want to call it, right?
Right.
And yeah, I mean... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, just Abrams being involved with Paramount in some faction. I mean, he's the producer on this movie and the director of the last two, so he's obviously a part of Paramount and vicariously, indirectly a part of this lawsuit. And not on the Axanar side. For him to just say stuff like this could somehow adversely affect either side of the lawsuit, I would assume.
Yeah, I would think so too. What about CBS? I mean, that's like you say, he's part of Paramount. I mean, it's very confusing to me.
It is.
That is the worst part of this. And of course, it had to bring up, I don't know why he brought it up. It just, I don't know what stake he has in it is the problem. Like, why is he even there? Okay, fine, he financed the film as a producer. Like, that's another problem. Is he there for just, like, continuity reasons to suggest, like, I'm handing this film off?
Right.
Like the same way Nimoy's in the film to, like, hand it off to a new generation. I don't know. Now I'm just being funny. Yeah, I don't know. And I just hate this article just in general. I hate when it, like, tries to be, like, smart. A particular standout is a scene that's clearly from early in the film, where Captain Kirk laments the humdrum nature of his job. Go screw yourself. So, that's what I have to say about that. Do you have anything else, Ron?
No. Was this the article? Which article was it? There was one thing that I wanted to talk about, and I'm not sure if this one was it or not. But I'm reading on here real quick if this one is it. It mentions okay. So it is. Oh, maybe it's. So after the humdrum part of his life, the next paragraph, or the end of that same paragraph, actually, below the picture, the scene in the movie, in the trailer, apparently, where McCoy and Kirk are sharing the drink, is on Kirk's birthday, which made my head explode when I read that today, because I was like, no, now they're just ripping off Star Trek 2 again. Like, they're just taking every little bit of Wrath of Khan and throwing it in the new movies as much as they can. I was just like, why? Why do they have to do that again? And they're still really young. You know, before William Shatner had these problems, these kind of existential crisis of age, or even like a midlife crisis of identity, he had been around the stars for the entire original series, his entire career before that, 2 or 1 other movie. So he'd been an admiral by then, promoted, was missing his ship, felt old because he wasn't in his ship. Chris Pine's Kirk has no reason to feel any of this. They can't tie that together. They're not similar whatsoever.
No, they're not. That's do something new, for Christ's sake. For criminy sake. Spock's death too. Did you see that at the bottom? Spock's death.
Yeah.
Wrath of Khan. Vulcan shuttle first contact. New film can reach those heights. Fans will excuse the motorcycles and the 90s hip-hop tracks and embrace the future of this franchise. No, I will not. I don't understand what can make me look over that stuff, because that stuff is part of it.
Yeah.
Stuff exists in it.
I don't know.
I
don't know. Yeah, every time I hear anything new about this movie, I like it less, and I'm looking forward to it less.
Yes. Yeah, that's a shame. I don't know why do they like... I mean, I know why they like Wrath of Khan so much, but I don't know. I mean, they're smart guys, right? Like, they can write. They know how to write. Like, why? Like, they're all writers, for criminy's sake. JG's obviously a writer. You know, Lynn's obviously a director who's worked with writer. He can write. Simon Pegg's a freaking writer. Like, write something new. Do something new. I don't know.
Agreed.
And that makes me wonder about the actors too. Like, I maybe they're just so excited to be on the job, but you know, Carl Urban says he's like a huge fan. But you know, sometimes I wonder, like, if I read this stuff as an actor, I'd just be like, "What are you guys doing? What are you doing?" Yeah, I do not like that. All right. Think Geek has new stuff that's even crazier than the trailer of the new Star Trek Beyond. This is just crazy now. So there's swimsuits that nobody's gonna wear. They came out with a swimsuit line of the TNG uniform, and it just looks ridiculous. What would you say if you saw that at a beach?
I don't know what I would say. I don't think I ever would see that at a beach, first of all. Second of all, just why? Like, why does there have to be so much, like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if anybody buys these. I mean, nobody bought Next Generation on Blu-ray. Who the hell's going to buy these swimsuits?
Oh, my God. It's just... Well, this is good. One of the comments down at the bottom says, Think Geek's sizing for women is really inconsistent and problematic, so maybe that'll prevent me having to watch people wear that at the beach. The last bit of news I have is kind of a weird bit. I never thought we'd mention this person on the Trek Brothers podcast, but Rihanna, it turns out, is a Star Trek fan, and she's designed some glasses that are inspired by Geordi LaForge's visor, which I think is actually pretty cool. The glasses aren't so cool, but the fact that, like, Rihanna likes Star Trek and liked that, I thought was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty sweet.
It's definitely surprising. I agree with you. I don't really care for the glasses. They look a little weird, and I don't really. I mean, I guess maybe I get the inspiration, but not really. So I don't know. They're all right. They are what they are. They're not for me, but they're not for men. So
that's true.
No problem there.
Yeah, women will like it. Women will like it that are wearing the swimsuits. Well, that's all the news I have. Do you have any other news, Shaun?
I do not.
Not
I do
much
want to make a
going
quick comment real quick about like going back to one of our original topics that I looked up while we were talking. So Federation Space is I don't want to say completely intersected, but it is what's in between Cardassian space and Federation space is Bajor, and Bajor doesn't really have its own space. So that's kind of what's in between that and nothing else.
on. Ah,
And they're both kind of adjacent to Ferengi space as well.
damn Ferengi.
Yeah.
Definitely don't want to go out there. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's good. That adds some perspective on it. Get a map up there. Yeah, it's really cool in Star Trek Online. This is a little side note. Like, anytime you visit any of the vendors in Star Trek Online that are Ferengi, you always get the worst price. And it's kind of funny that it's designed that way. Like, anytime that you try to recycle your items through a Ferengi vendor, you just don't do it. Don't ever do business with a Ferengi. You just get screwed. And then, like, they always sell you the most worthless piece of junk that you'll never use. So it's kind of hilarious that it's like that in the game, but it's true.
It's funny.
Yes. So, if you want to tell us about why you think that it's a good thing to wear a swimsuit with crazy glasses and Simon Pegg's a genius, you should get a hold of us and tell us. How can they do that, Shaun?
The best way to get a hold of us and disagree with us or agree with us, whatever you want to do, is through Gmail, through email at Gmail. We are at thetrekbrothers@gmail.com. You can also get a hold of us rather easily through Twitter. Our handle is at thetrekbrothers. And you can find Chris at Lethargic Nerd, all one word. You can find me at Shaun Makita, ShaunMikita.
Huzzah! Yes.
Huzzah, indeed.
Indeed. Well, let's get to Verdict Trek because there's a little bit of your first. I don't know. This might cause some controversy with us. I don't know if I agree with this. Let's get to Verdict Trek. I want to hear your opinion about this.
Okay.
Consider your verdict.
What's your verdict, Shaun?
All right. Well, I want to talk about Star Trek games, and I just want to talk about Star Trek games in general, not necessarily completely video games, but probably a large chunk of video games. And this is a vast category for me to be talking crap about, and so I'm going to be making some sweeping generalizations that aren't necessarily very true about Star Trek. Some Star Trek games. There are probably some hidden gems out there, and some things that I've never even heard of that are probably totally fun and totally worth it. Now, I'm going to set aside and say I know that Chris is a huge fan of Star Trek Online, obviously. In my opinion, that's probably the biggest Star Trek game of any sort that there has ever been. So I kind of want to stay away from that because it's obviously popular. I don't know very much about it. I'm going to leave it alone. So everything that I'm talking about does not include Star Trek Online in my kind of rash, not necessarily hatred, but ill talking of all these. So what brought this up is I sent Chris a picture a couple weeks ago of something that I found at a thrift store, and it made me start thinking. And it's how to host a mystery board game or parlor game. It's not a board game because it doesn't have a board, but it's a Star Trek Next Generation themed how to host a mystery. And if anyone doesn't know what these games are, these are one of the, it comes with props, and this one was made in the 90s, so it comes with a cassette tape, and there's some vague space mystery that you kind of role play, act out, and there's a not necessarily a GM, but somebody that kind of knows the whole story, that like a narrator that kind of helps the plot along, and everyone kind of acts the parts, and it's all one big giant, night of who killed Mr. Body, but who killed Mr. Mott or something like that, kind of ridiculousness. So there's that. I'm just like, now, I know that what I'm going to be talking ill about there is the how to host a mystery kind of thing, but it's just in the Star Trek world, it just makes it seem that much more ridiculous. And I'm just like, I don't know how much this game would go for not in a thrift store. I found it for $2, which is fine. I picked it up because everything inside was still wrapped. So I was like, well, how can I not buy this for $2? And I also just have a problem of spending money. So, but there's that. That's a prime example of here's something that has the Star Trek name on it that, in my opinion, is just like crap. Like, just a stupid thing to play. Like, why would you want to do it? Is it really worth it? And once you've done it once, are you going to be able to do it again? Plus, the people that are in Star Trek, do they really have enough friends that they can actually play one of these in a night and make it worthwhile? Because I don't know enough people that would actually be down for that. And at least take it serious. So there's one, and then just kind of general sweep over some other stuff. I like video games throughout, and I'm talking mostly console and strictly console games actually at this point for Star Trek, starting with like the original Nintendo 25th anniversary TOS Star Trek game, the Deep Space Nine game for Genesis and Super Nintendo, and the Voyager Elite Force or whatever it was called for PS2 are prime examples of games that are overly hard, have entirely way too much text in them, and are undermade compared to other games it's similar in the era. So these are games that just seem needlessly complicated, and I don't know why. And I feel like there's a theme of Star Trek games where they're just crappy. Like, I can remember a Star Trek board game that I had, next gen board game that I had when I was young, that was like this really weird mix of card game and board game and role playing game that had, you know, a whole booklet full of rules that nobody probably ever learned how to play. And it's just a ongoing theme, I feel like. Chris, feel free to chime in here with any opinions or memories you may have of some of these games.
Yeah, I completely disagree on the Star Trek Voyager Elite Force. That was one of the best games ever designed, ever. Ever. Like, you can't talk ill about that game.
You don't think it was just a clunky, like, clone of some better first-person shooter?
No, I don't. It had, like, one of the best storylines ever.
Well, okay, it might have had an okay storyline, but gameplay-wise, it's not that great of a game.
Well, what would you want? It's on the Quake server, like, it's on the Quake, like, what do you expect? Like, you play Doom, you play that, you play the same game.
I'd rather play Quake, though, is the thing. Like, I feel like it's just ham-hocked into the Quake universe.
No, I'm not, no. No, that is gonna be one of my favorite games forever. Forever. Like, I still have a copy of that.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I played it on multiple platforms, actually. Because you could play on PC, too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, that is a fantastic game. And, like, who didn't want to see freaking Voyager? Like, you get to go all over Voyager, and that was cool. I mean, you're all over the ship, dude.
You did get to be on the bridge. That's kind of cool that you kind of get to hang out on the bridge. I always appreciate that in first-person shooters.
Yeah, I mean, you're in engineering. You're like, you know, you're all over the ship. You know,
let me turn the tide. Like, I don't know if you remember this game, but there was a game for Super Nintendo and Genesis, and it was a DS9 game called Crossroads of Time. And my complaints about it are very much the same as Elite Force. Is it's not the same type of game. This one's very much, you know, I mean, it's a couple generations before, but it's just an action platformer, just with like a Star Trek wallpaper over it. So you're playing as Cisco in a Star Trek universe, but it could have been anybody doing like similar tasks of just running around and jumping and firing a gun. Like, I just feel like that is Star Trek games. Like, I don't feel like there's like a really original Star Trek game where it's like, oh my god, like this is amazing. Like, what is this wonderful new functional game within this, you know, already preset universe, if that's even possible.
You know what came really close was the Into Darkness game that sucked. It was a sucky game, but it was pretty immersive in that universe.
Really?
Yeah, it was quite different actually. Unfortunately, the gameplay was clunky and um, it wasn't very well received. I think the game was rushed a little bit too much. Um, but regardless, like that game is a very like you're in that movie. It's really strange. Like as much as you like hate that, like if people like that movie, like that game is like definitely for them.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's a good rebuttal to that. Because there was a lot of stuff I was like, wow, that's definitely unique, like gameplay wise. Like some of the missions and some of the stuff you had to do, on the Enterprise was completely different. But like I said though, like I remember the controls just being like, what the hell is this? And I had that for my PS3. I haven't played that forever, but I just remember the gameplay just being like impossible to get around, like the controls. I was just like, got bored of that stuff. But definitely a good immersive universe, so I would definitely check out that one. I don't know. I guess maybe like, see, I could see like your complaint, but because I was gonna say like Star Trek Ramon is pretty good, but like once again that's just kind of like an Age of Empires type game, but just with like a Star Trek theme to it.
Or see, but here's the thing. Like, okay, so let's take Age of Empires, because I think Age of Empires and Timelines, the mobile game, have a similar problem where they're overly complicated. And I feel like that's also kind of a theme throughout some Star Trek video games, where it's just like, why is this so complicated? It doesn't need to be this intense.
Yeah, I think Timelines is its own creature though when it comes to that. Like I totally agree. Yeah, it's that game has a lot of problems. Problems.
It wants you to dedicate a good chunk of your time, and therefore is not for a casual gamer. And I feel like you have to already be into Star Trek to want to play something like that. So they're banking off the prereq that you're into Star Trek, and you're so into Star Trek and video games that you're going to spend time with this.
Yeah, it's just not that good. Gameplay wise, is it suffers from like the going to planet kind of thing. But I think you're absolutely right. Like, yeah, it just expects too much from its player base to be what it is. Unless like I don't know how many diehard fans play that though, because I know plenty of people that talk trash about it, including present company included. So I don't know who's playing that. To be honest.
Right.
Trexels, like I played Trexels for a while, and I guess that was unique because it was like pixels more than anything.
Right.
And I haven't played. Are there any other Trexels games?
Not that I'm aware of. I only know of the one, and I actually haven't tried that one.
I mean, it's kind of strange if you think about it, but the Trexels games and the Timelines games are about the same thing, pretty much. Like, free to play, just wait time, pay to win, or pay to skip a grind, go planet to planet, and just like just the grind is what's so bad on those games.
Yeah,
and it's unfortunate because those are like the two newest games that have come out. There was for a while. Let me see. Let me do a quick Google search. There's a game that just came out recently. No, it's not even. Wow, actually, beta just came out. This is new. This is brand new. This is called Star Trek Alien Domain. Have you heard anything about this?
No, I haven't actually.
Yeah, I'll post a link in the notes to it. It looks interesting. I don't know what to think of it yet, but like going based off of like what your arguments are, like if you look at it, it looks just like a ripoff of I don't know, like StarCraft or something like that. It just proves, but they're looking for game developers if anybody needs a job. if anybody knows how to do that kind of thing, that'd be fun. But this is a game that's, slated to come out pretty soon.
Yeah.
But, I should, now that it's in beta, I should get on there and do it. Well, no wonder why. I mean, the server hasn't been open that long. I didn't even know that they had some servers open. But, look at the ships. They look kind of weird. I don't know when it takes place or anything about it, but that was floating around for a while on I think it takes place in JJ Universe, actually, a little bit later.
Later in JJ, yeah.
Yeah. Board games, I don't know. I might agree with you there, too. Board games might be bad.
Do you remember any Star Trek board games? I wish I could. I'll do a little more research into it, but there was a Next Generation board game, and I was talking to you about it. That's the one I was talking about. I just remember it being complicated.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else. I would like to have a murder mystery on the Enterprise. That'd be kind of fun. But then again, that's what you were saying. Who would want to play that stuff? Nerds like us, and we know each other, and that's it.
Yep.
But it'd be kind of fun if there was a murder on the Enterprise.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about. There was a trivia game, a Next Generation trivia board game. That's not the one I'm talking about either.
Ah.
I remember that one too. That one was different.
I have a Monopoly Star Trek.
I do too.
That's just Monopoly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to play that Sega one. I never knew there was a Sega.
There's two on the Genesis. There's a Next Generation one, which actually is kind of good, and there's another one that I can't remember. Oh, the DS9 one that I was just talking about.
I'm gonna have to try those. I'll look those up. Huh. I can't think of any other games. What other games are there?
Although the Next Generation one was hard. It was just a hard game.
Difficult?
Yeah, it was fun, but it was just, it wasn't broken hard. It was just difficult to get through. It just, some aspects of it were really, really hard.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'd like to see that, too. Huh. I don't know any other games. I'm trying to think of what people talk about on STO. Sometimes when people are frustrated with STO, we just go to Star Wars, Old Republic or something. Something different, but anyway. Huh. That's interesting. I definitely don't think that about STO, of course.
Yeah, I know.
But I think you make an alright argument. Except for Star Trek Voyager Elite Force, man. That just was the best.
I guess.
Oh, come on. It had the best reveal of a boss ever. Because everything was leading up to that, and it was just it didn't disappoint.
I don't know. I don't know how it ends. So.
Oh, jeez. See, look, can't criticize it then. The heck.
Oh, okay. I played it enough.
Okay. All right. So you played play Quake 3 or whatever, aka Star Trek Elite Force there. All right. How's it going? I don't know. Any other games?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Keep thinking, because I want to continue this conversation.
No, I'll keep thinking of games. I'll try anyway.
Next week, maybe I'll come up with Star Trek games. Too easy and too fun. I don't know. So I got a kind of weird I mean, this was part of the drugs talking yesterday. But for some reason, I've always liked Counselor Troy's Chocolate Fixation. And I have no idea why. I have always thought it was played pretty well. And the episode that I thought was particularly funny, I mean, there was several instances that I thought were funny with the chocolate, but I thought one of the things that was funny was like when Worf's going through like the in parallels through like the different dimensions, and there's they have cake for him, and it's like chocolate 1 minute, and then like the next second it's white. And Worf's like, I thought this was a chocolate cake, and she's like, me too. I wish it was. And it's just like really funny. She's just always eating chocolate, but I always just like how they played it. So it was like, it was a cool character thing. It was like, oh, she liked chocolate. Like that's just like what you do, you know. So when you see her with chocolate, you'd like be like, oh, that's cool. I know that's a weird thing to like, but like when you have those vignettes of a character like that, when it's done in other characters, sometimes I think it's like too forced. I think a good example is Worf and Prune Juice. I thought that was like very forced to the point where, you know, when you'd order prune juice, you'd be like, oh yeah, of course you would, or you know, stuff like that, or like the tea Earl Grey. Maybe not so much that, because I know that's become like a fan favorite, but I'm trying to think now and expand that. I don't think any other characters really had that on TNG specifically. I don't think like the Doctor had like a favorite food or something like that. But yeah, definitely Counselor Troy and chocolate was always pretty good.
Yeah, you're right. No, I like it. It's funny because now that you mentioned that, Picard, Troy, and Worf all had a substance that they really enjoyed,
Yeah,
which is weird.
that's true. I just something for that. But anyway, I just thought I liked that. So my verdict this week is that Troy's chocolate fixation is a good thing. Good character thing.
Do you like Janeway's coffee fixation?
Yeah, it's really funny. You know what does it? It's such a great setup, because in the last episode, remember when she meets herself and she offers herself coffee, and she said, Janeway's talking to Janeway, and Janeway from the future says, "Oh no, thank you. I gave that up a long time ago." The look on Janeway's face to that is priceless. It's like, what? Are you freaking crazy? It's just priceless. And so the setup of that is it's okay. I'm so good with that. And there's other, like, they make so many funny jokes about that. Like, you know, the coffee and the nebula thing. Like that's like probably the most famous.
Yeah.
But there's other stuff too, like where she'll have people in her ready room. You know, she'll offer them coffee like once in a while, but they'll just have a conversation about coffee. Yeah, it's just, I really love that stuff. I do like her and coffee. Like that was a really funny attribute. I don't think anybody else on Voyager really had a food thing though. Now I'm trying to think. I don't think they did.
And somebody like jalapenos?
Jalapenos?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Or is it just, I just can always remember Neelix saying jalapenos. But I don't remember why he says that.
A jalapeno? That's
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that only happened for like one episode. I don't remember a character just being like, I like jalapenos all the time.
Yeah, I don't either. If that ever happened, but I remember Neelix saying that, and for some reason I thought it was because of a character.
See, they didn't have that stuff in the original series. In the original series,
No.
it was just what it was, you know. Whatever for the week. Like, they didn't have, I don't know if it was that connected. I don't know, like, I can't imagine Kirk with a food, though. Like a food fetish.
No.
Give me that burrito today, you know, like.
He does have that chicken sandwich in Trouble with Tribbles. That's the only thing that I can ever think of Kirk eating or drinking is his chicken sandwich.
That's true. I do like, I like the chicken sandwich, but I was going to say I like the apple, too. I like the idea of Kirk just having an apple. To me, that's just very Kirkish, and it wouldn't be that if it wasn't for Wrath of Khan.
Right.
Which, you know, they had to steal that for the, 2009. Just to...
By the way, Abrams says that he didn't steal that. That's not a reference. He said that he did that for other reasons.
I don't buy that. Do you?
No, I don't buy it either. I'm just saying. If you watch the commentary, Abrams talks about how people thought that was like a like fan service, and he's like, no, it's not. It was more of like an inside joke of one of his director friends or somebody talked about how you should never have your actors eating apples, and that's why he put it in there.
I don't buy that story at all.
I don't buy it either because he's eating the apple while doing the playing with the Kobayashi Maru, and it goes way too closely with Kirk talking about how old Kirk from Wrath of Khan talking about how he beat the Kobayashi Maru. It's just like, no, too close, too similar. Like maybe if he's eating an apple just later or at the beginning or somewhere else, like maybe, but like you actually had to throw it in and tie it in with the Kobayashi Maru as well. And now I just don't believe you.
Yeah, that is too coincidental.
No, I agree. Especially for somebody like J.J. Abrams. It's not. It's on purpose.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't buy that. You know, and like that's like having a character that just so happens to be like Counselor Troy's, like, you know, mother or something, and I was like, I like chocolate, and then later on it's being like, somebody said never have your actors eat chocolate, and I'd be like, no, I'm pretty sure I've seen that somewhere else before.
Yeah. So do you think Marina Sirtis? Do you think it was her idea to add that to the character, or do you think they kept writing it in?
Oh no, I think that's definitely her. I think that was Marina Sirtis.
Okay. I do.
That'd actually be a good question to ask at a command. See, why doesn't anybody ask that kind of question?
Because it's the kind of question she would know. Because it's about her character, and it's something that she would have consciously, deliberated on.
Yeah, that's the kind of question that needs to be asked.
Yeah, not the nerd question of just like, when she was on Risa and 20, did she meet up with the Gecko King, and did they...
Yeah, exactly.
Why would they know that? They're an actor. Stop it.
What's it like to be naked on Rise all the time? Oh my god. Yeah, no, I think that's definitely her. It's too bad that Gates McFadden never had anything like that.
Poor Gates McFadden didn't have a developed character, I think, or enough of a developed character to get stuff like that.
She had a son. I guess that's developed. I don't know.
Her son's more developed than she is. Because when you think about Beverly Crusher, basically she gets 2 seasons less than the rest of the crew.
Oh, that's true.
Because season 1 she's barely there, and season 2 she's not there.
They had plenty of time to do stuff with her, though, but...
That's true. I guess they did, but...
What do you think she would like to eat?
I don't know. Something healthy and stupid. Something with carrots in it. I don't know why. Just carrots.
But just go with a carrot stick. Like, you're on the bridge with a carrot stick. Picard's just, like, looking at her. Like, can you imagine the crunch of it? Even, like, just... Like, they're in the... They're like in the neutral zone or something, and like the freaking Romulans show up. She's just eating the carrot. I'm
wondering at what point in time did Starfleet decide that it was a bad idea to have beverages on the bridge? Because in the original series, even the Excelsior in Star Trek VI, he's drinking tea, and throughout the original series, they're always having coffee on the bridge.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out when that happened, when they decided no liquids by all this expensive technology anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a TNG thing, because in Voyager, Neelix does go onto the bridge with coffee and fills up her cup while she's sitting there.
That's true. She does have it on the bridge, doesn't she?
Yeah, she drinks it. She drinks it on right there. So I think that's just like a Picard hang up.
It's a Picard rule.
Yeah, Picard rule, like no food right here. No. That's food true, because
zone. We've already seen Cisco with drinks on the ops of Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, because they drink too. where they want, really.
Yeah, so it's just Picard. Okay. That makes sense. I could see Picard saying, no drinks on the bridge. No.
Like when Beverly has to take like the midnight shift and it's all dark and then you just hear like the crunching of the carrot. Beverly, is that you? I said no food. Alright, that conversation went weird. It was gonna be weird to begin with. I don't know. So let's go from weird to great, because we're going to talk about a good episode today. At least I think it's a good episode.
Well,
Shaun does too.
We should preface it that you're saying something in DS9 is good, so that must make it great.
Yeah, I know. It's the drugs talking still. I'm still sick. That's what it is. Just in a haze. Alright, let's get to Talk Trek.
Warp drive isn't going to do us much good with this knife stuck in our belly.
His brain is gone.
You're a romantic.
So I would have to say, this is one of those. As I cough.
Oh my.
I know. I would have to say this is like one of the most underrated episodes of Deep Space Nine. However, I preface that also by saying that I don't like Deep Space Nine very much. So the episodes I like are pretty much not the episodes that like everybody likes. I'm pretty sure that I'm stand alone in this anyway. So anybody that says like, "Oh, I really like this episode," just is weird by any standard. But I like this episode. Did you like this episode?
I was okay with this episode, and I am going to say one thing that I don't think ever made the actual podcast, but Chris and I had been talking about this episode a couple different times over the past few weeks, because I don't remember it whatsoever. Obviously, I do now, but like even rewatching it, and I just watched it yesterday, I don't remember it. Like I have no recollection of ever seeing this episode. So it may have just always slipped through the cracks of my Star Trek viewing, or it may have just been completely forgotten by me. I don't know, one or the other, but I have zero memory of this before about 24 hours ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I actually watched this when it was on network television. So I actually saw this broadcast. It's kind of an interesting episode for a number of reasons. Because it kind of exposes not necessarily like why I think Deep Space Nine, once again, it doesn't expose why it's such a great episode as so much for me as it exposes why Deep Space Nine, once again, is such a bad series. And by that I mean we're 6 episodes in, and this has nothing to do with this episode per se. We're 6 episodes in, and we've just barely met our first creature that's come from the Gamma Quadrant. And being a show about exploration, I think that was a shame that they never utilized. They didn't do so much with the wormhole early on as much as I wish they would have, save except for like the mysticism of the entities within the wormhole. I really wish they would have done more. And it's also unfortunate, again, that, and maybe this is just a Star Trek thing and not just this episode kind of thing or just a Deep Space Nine thing. I think it's unfortunate that we don't see Tosk again. Like, that would have been really cool. Or just like the Hunters. Instead, like, the Gamma Quadrant, we find out, is completely like as bad as you might think of this hunting society. Like, then, like, you have the Jem'Hadar, and like, oh my god, and, like, there goes 6 seasons of your life. But anyway, so that's what the episode makes me think of. How about you?
So there's a couple things there. I didn't realize it till you said it just now, but that is crazy that we're on the cusp of this wormhole that takes us to a part of the galaxy that is largely unexplored by the Federation at this point in time. And it takes this many episodes to get to a new species. And just to put that in perspective, by this point in time, obviously the original series, everything that we've seen so far has been new. Next Generation, I think everything that we've seen, we've had Q, we've had Racist Planet, we've had the Ferengi, and we've had at least 3 new species. I may be forgetting one in there too. Voyagers introduced the Kazon, the Talaxians, the Caretaker, the Okampa. That's all within one episode. I mean, and so DS9 took 4 whole episodes for us to get 1 new species.
Yeah,
it's neat. That's out of control. I mean, I guess if you consider Odo new, but he's a mainstay, so I don't.
No, me neither. And they don't reveal that till later on. So
yeah.
I don't. He's a mystery even now. But no, the mysticism of the wormhole could have been certainly dealt with a lot better. Like this episode, I would have been a little better off. The series would have been a lot better, I think, if this would have been like 2nd episode, and then like A Man Alone would have been like 6. That I think makes sense. This way it was done, I don't think so.
Right. I mean, it is a little weird. It's lame that it takes us this long to get there, especially the last DS9 episode that we had, which was Babel, where it's very much a bottle episode where it's just the main crew. There's nobody else, no alien or anything like that.
Right. I wasn't hip on I don't know. I'm not hip on the O'Brien episodes anyway. But I wasn't, as much as I love this episode, like, I'm not hip on it being an O'Brien episode. But I don't know who else it could have been, is the thing. I can't imagine it being anybody else, which is strange. Like, for some reason, I think his character just worked with, the whole attaching himself with Tosk and then wanting to, help Tosk out. Just, like, being an O'Brien-centric episode. I can't imagine it with anybody else. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it works really well for O'Brien. And them kind of starting out with repairing the ship, I think goes right into O'Brien and his kind of forte, and so they kind of piece it together like that. I think I like O'Brien more than you do, but
I
so to have like, yeah, I was gonna say, to have an O'Brien centered episode, like, you've already kind of not necessarily won me over, but I'm warmed up a lot more to watching it than I would be, I think, with any other character in Deep Space Nine.
Oh, yeah. I can't stand O'Brien from TNG. I just never got into his character. I never liked it much. I don't know what else to say about that.
I feel like in Next Generation, all the side characters, all the recurring side characters, are all kind of different varying levels of annoying, O'Brien included. So, like, when you think of, like, O'Brien, Loxana Troy, I had another good one in there that I was trying to think of that comes back often enough that now I'm drawing a complete blank on. Another one of the crewmen. Whatever. I don't know. I agree. Next Generation O'Brien's kind of spotty.
Likes to sing Irish songs with that captain.
Yeah.
Doesn't have fun.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like. I wrote this in the show notes, and then I didn't realize that this was on Memory Alpha until, like, I got on Memory Alpha a little later on, and I was like, oh yeah, well, I already knew this. You stole this from me, Memory Alpha. But if one of my favorite short stories is The Most Dangerous Game, which has been spoofed like a million times in a million different ways. But in the story, it's about a man being hunted by a man. He's the guy's actually a hunter, and he's ends up being hunted by another hunter who's kind of, you know, hunted everything that you could possibly imagine, and so he thinks that there's nothing else to essentially hunt that's worthy of him other than hunting man. So it's pretty cool, but I didn't realize that was like an official thing that served as an inspiration for this episode. But it certainly is an obvious inspiration for this episode, because as it turns out, Tosk is a genetically engineered creature for the sole purpose of being hunted. And I thought that was played pretty well too. Done pretty well, that Tosk was like okay with just being Tosk. You know.
Right, yeah. The only time that he seems, and he doesn't even seem sad, but the only time that he seems sad is when they tell him that he's going to be captured and they're going to just take him back to the planet and people are going to throw food at him and point at him.
Yeah. Well, they're like, you allowed yourself to be captured, and they kind of humiliate him. And it seems like it's kind of a weird dynamic, because it's like the hunter always wants the prey to somehow keep the hunt going. And so I think that was definitely what they were saying, like, kind of let the hunt die over here. You know, you're going to be humiliated. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, that was the one time when he was like sad, but yeah, like definitely a badge of honor to be Tosk, to be able to be hunted. But I mean, that whole dynamic was pretty interesting to have that kind of hunter and hunted thing to be the first thing that comes out of the Delta Quadrant. It's just kind of unfortunate that the hunters weren't too, I don't know, they weren't as fearsome, I guess, in some ways as like the Herodians per se. I thought those were done better.
Well, these aliens, Tosk included, came from Doctor Who, and I don't mean that seriously. They're Doctor Who aliens. They look, act, sound, and even the kind of graphics around them are all ridiculous. They're all Doctor Who characters. Like, the way they beam in is a Doctor Who like visual effect. Their uniforms with their weird like Mork from Ork uniforms and oversized robot helmets are Doctor Who-esque. And then even Tosk's whole not his costume, but his chest plate that is connected to his headpiece as far as makeup, all being one piece of obvious rubber that's made to look like scales, all just stunk of Doctor Who to me. And I was like, this is kind of weird.
I've never thought about that, but yeah, you're right.
It's just, it kind of reads to that like low budget, we're gonna kind of piece together an alien out of stuff that we just have laying around the studio kind of stuff and make it look futuristic.
Oh, that cheapiness. Oh, that gets to me. You know, one time I complained about Doctor Who on Star Trek Online, and I called it corny, and some guy who was obviously from England was like, "We want the corniness." And I was just like, "Oh my god, don't piss off the Brits." Which is funny, I have to tell you a quick side story. So on the Star Trek Online forums, I can't remember how the conversation was going or what it was about per se, but a British guy like said a statement and they wrote LOLOL, and then the person below them said they answered their question, but then after that they put, how come people in England always have to put LOLOL or LOOOL to make it seem like they're laughing more than everybody else. And the next statement below that was the same person just like answering the question that was asked by the original poster. And then after that was, I swear to God, the longest string of LOLOL. It was ridiculous. It was so funny. Like, I had to just laugh. Like, that was like, what these two people were fighting about from across the Atlantic was like who uses more LOLs. But anyway, yeah, not a fan of the corniness. But that's hilarious that you brought that up because they totally do look like they're freaking Doctor Who. And this thing won like they were nominated, I think, for an Emmy, right, for best makeup. And yeah,
this episode,
yeah, best makeup
Oh my
for
God.
this episode. And I mean, Tosk doesn't look too bad throughout, but I mean, he's definitely no Emmy
Tosk doesn't
winner.
look terrible. You're right. There's a couple parts where the way they put, like I said, the way they put his chest piece connected to his headpiece is a little weird. But like for sure, the Hunter aliens when they beam aboard, starting with their transporter graphic, like right there, like as soon as they beam on them, they're like, this looks really weird.
Yeah, I think it's weird. I don't know what else to say. I don't know. I like the attachment of O'Brien and stuff. I mean, that stuff's good. Just not. I don't know. O'Brien's just a weird character for me. He's like a love-hate character. This is a good episode though. I do have to say. I like. I don't know what else. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know. What do you want to say about this?
Well, let's. I'll go into a little bit more details, and I just want to start with the beginning of the intro because here's a problem that I have with Deep Space Nine, and this is a recurring theme every week, and this episode is no different. And like I said, I didn't remember this episode, so for this episode to start with this intro, I was like, oh god, like this is going to be just another 45 minutes of my life just going, what is happening and why am I watching
Oh, you're
this?
talking about sex now, huh?
And well, yeah, because this is how it starts, and we'll listen to this clip, and we'll go into it afterward.
I'm not what a lot of people think. I mean, if you're a Dabo girl, you know, you get a reputation.
Sergeant, why don't you tell me exactly what happened? When did you start to have trouble with Quark?
About 5 minutes after I got off the ship,
He immediately made sexual advances.
he said it was part of the job.
And what did you say?
I told him I'd wear the costume and entertain the gamblers, but to keep his Ferengi knuckles to himself.
That didn't stop him.
No, he said again that it was part of the job. He showed me my employment agreement. See? There it is in the Ferengi print. Page 21, subsection D, paragraph 12.
You're telling me the contract you signed requires you
I guess I should have read it more carefully. I'm not a legal expert, Commander.
I'm not a legal expert either, but I assure you, after I talk to Quark, he won't hold you or anyone else to this provision concerning the exchange.
Commander, sensors are picking up elevated neutrino readings. Something's coming through the wormhole.
Excuse me.
Thank you, Commander.
So this episode begins with this whole, apparently Quark has contracts with his girls that they're also sexual. Are they prostitutes or I don't know like what exactly they are. So there's a few things wrong with this. First of all, there's just the weird ethical, moral, what kind of weird brothel nonsense boss is Quark in this world, first of all. Second of all, why is this a part of the episode? Because it's never referenced once for the rest of the episode. Nothing about it is even mentioned again.
No, yeah, and I have no idea. The only scene that can possibly be like semi-connected to this is when Tosk and O'Brien are going through the promenade and they see Quark again, and Quark's like all misogynistic again. He's like, no, you're not coming back over here. And he's talking to, like, one of his patrons. And it's like, oh, okay, so I guess, like, Quark just hates women. And I guess maybe that's the connection?
Maybe. But that's, I mean, it's a really long, thin connection.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know why that's there in the intro.
Just why have that? Why is that there? Why would you put that there? It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, you know, when you have something stupid like when they're walking onto the promenade and the little alarm goes off and O'Brien goes, oh, it's just an alarm sensor. It's just like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. We're going to see that again later.
Mm-hmm.
Later this episode and possibly never again for 7 years, but...
Right.
Yeah, but like that, like the whole... And I like how they keep getting interrupted. Every time it's just like, oh, and in the contract it was that I was going to have sex with him. Like, they just... Like, something happens where Cisco will cut her off, like, you didn't read it, or then Cisco's getting ready to say, and it's for you to have sex with him, and like, but before he says that, like, he gets interrupted by Kira. So stupid. Just why? Why does it have to be like that, Deep Space Nine? Luckily, this whole episode isn't just like completely messed in it like the other episodes that we watched have been, but it's still there. It's still present.
Yeah, and that reminds me of that scene that we talked about like a month or two ago, where Dax had that line. Oh God, what was it? Where she was like, "It's so hard getting used to a female's body," or something like that. Do you remember that? And it was just kind of like, why is that there? Mm-hmm. And yeah, like now I see it that you say that. It's just like, yeah, that's a really good thing to point out that Deep Space Nine has, where it's just like, but it's oddball stuff is the thing. It's not just so much like this doesn't advance the story, because this is really freaking weird.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Like, is he running a brothel or like what? Like, what does he want this woman to do? And obviously, like, the contract is like so freaking complicated that, like, he's putting sex in the fine print here.
Yeah.
Which is weird, I guess, if you want to go on a tangent. Like, can't you just, like, if you wanted to have sex, like, just have, like, don't you have brothel programs on the holodeck?
Right.
I wonder if those are, like, I wonder if they have, like, pornography, regulations, though, for, like, holodeck, like we do for, like, like, adult channels and stuff, though.
Well, in Quark's, whatever, probably not. On Picard's Enterprise, probably.
Well, yeah, he doesn't even allow carrots on the bridge. Like, what the heck? Like, Jesus.
That's
Can't
true.
even have fun on that thing. And, the proof in that is, like, shut that thing off! Wish we just had a soundboard where we just play all this stuff. Yeah. So Tosk, of course, comes through the wormhole, and I don't know. I'm glad that you have the I am Tosk thing, because Tosk is Tosk, and I thought that was unique too. Tosk is Tosk. Tosk is a Tosk. I am Tosk. Yeah. Now I'm just thinking about Quark. The thing about that thing too, when Tosk and O'Brien see him on the promenade, O'Brien's just like, "Wow, we just can't. There's just things about our culture, though. I'll just have to describe to you later."
Right.
It's just like, this is bad. Like, you need to call this stuff out now. I don't know.
I forgot to get this clip. I wish I'd got this clip where O'Brien and Tosk are talking, and it's when they go into Quark's, and basically it winds up saying Tosk is telling O'Brien that the Alpha Quadrant has way too much downtime after he talks about sleeping and R and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
That stuff is good. Well, that's part of his genetic thing, is he doesn't have to sleep very much. He doesn't have to eat carrots like Beverly Crusher does very much. To keep the hunt going, that's the whole thing. And, like, I surmise, too, like, if his ship was okay, he just would have kept going, and the hunters just... I don't know if they would have ignored Deep Space Nine, like, if they just would have flew past it or what, but, have you seen this alligator here recently? He went that way. All right. Just follow that,
You think that they would let him, though? I feel like Starfleet would not let them get past the wormhole. Like, so if somebody came out of the wormhole that they didn't recognize, they'd be like, "No, hey, hold on." Like, and if they just kept going, they'd send out a shuttle or something to go chase them.
Well, that's true. Like, it interrupts Cisco's talking about sex, and, something's coming through the wormhole, and it's obviously important enough that it's like, holy crap, like, let me know if something comes through there. But, I mean, to a finer point, too, at the very end of the episode, it was like, he had every chance, Cisco did. Cisco had every opportunity to, apparently, not allow Tosk to continue with his goal of being Tosk, when he gives O'Brien that stupid line where he's like, well, O'Brien kind of puts it in his mouth where it's like, you let us get away, huh? And he's like, well, I don't know. And it's like, yeah, you guys did. Like, you did let him get away. And so, like, that brings up a moral dilemma. Like, was Cisco just okay with Tosk being Tosk?
Right. And it's just the, like, I mean, to go with that, too, when they find out where Tosk and O'Brien are inside the... they're not called Jeffries tubes on the station, but, you know, Jeffries tubes, for lack of a better term. They're like, oh, they're in this section. And he's like, Odo's like, I'll stop them. And he's like, you don't need to hurry. And then Odo just walks insanely slow to the lift.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, I mean, you're right. Cisco obviously did not want to stop them. Part of the reason why I like this episode, going off of that, is it kind of reminds me of a Next Generation episode. And not any particular episode, at least not any that I can think off the top of my head. But it kind of has like a Next Generation feel to it. Because you get this alien species that you've never encountered before that is doing something morally, I don't know, what we would consider morally wrong or morally deprived in a way. And there's the conundrum of trying to stop that, what we would consider morally apprehensible action or actions of the species, in this case the hunt, and at the same time not interfering with a other civilized species and what they do, and that kind of juxtaposition of the moral ground and the prime directive of non-interference of Starfleet. I feel like that's very Next Generation-esque.
Yeah. Which is strange because, according to the showrunners, that, you know, this is one episode that sets out to differentiate itself from TNG. So I think that's an interesting point.
I don't see it. It feels very Next Generation to me, and not just because it's O'Brien.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're absolutely right. There is that big moral dilemma there.
And you kind of get, like, Cisco being, in my opinion, kind of a Picard, where he's like, I'm doing my duty as a Starfleet officer, but I'm also kind of doing the morally right thing. I'm just kind of walking that, like, fence in that gray area.
Right. Yeah. I see that. I like that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, there's not much visuals in this episode. Can't really talk about ships or anything. Not much of a ship to talk about.
No.
Which is kind of interesting. It did seem kind of bottle-esque, I guess, in some regards. I don't know if we're coming up with like a heavy production episode or not. Or thing about Deep Space Nine that I've noticed though is, it doesn't seem like they spend a lot of money on a lot of stuff. Because mostly on this, it is just, you know, makeup that's new.
Mm-hmm.
Not much else that they don't already have. That's one thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, and, you know, maybe Deep Space Nine spent more of its initial budget on these sets that are a little bit bigger than what we've seen in Next Generation so far. And they have to be a little bit more permanent. They're not, you know, just one-off sets. They have to use these week after week.
Yeah. That's true, yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. And they're obviously using more makeup.
That's true. So I go back to your earlier point here. I like that. So, like, do you empathize with Tosk? Or, like, what do you think is the purpose of Tosk?
I don't know, and we don't know enough about them to really understand. I mean, it's a weird evolution in the species where there are hunters and they're hunted, and they just basically apparently developed this hunting class of species that are very much sentient and very, very much aware, and I mean, he can fly his own spaceship and run around, and kind of relate with people, and even tell Quark, like, obviously they think that they're doing something noble and great because he tells Quark that he doesn't need to go to the Hollow Suite because he leads like the greatest adventure life ever or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's very bizarre. It's too bad that we don't revisit the species a little bit more and try to go in depth a little bit more to figure out why they're like this and what made them like this. And if there were ever any Tosks, like a Tosk uprising or something like that.
Oh, that'd be something. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, have they discovered a colony of Tosks?
Yeah.
Refugee Tosks?
Yeah. Refugees that decide that they weren't going to get hunted, so they're in hiding.
Like, you know, like, where they go, one of us. Where they're like, which one of you is Tosk? I am. And they say it all at the same time. I am Tosk. I am Tosk. Just having like 50 Tosks say that. Fuck. I don't know. Yeah, but it's so simple of a thing, but I do like this episode. Yeah.
It's not bad.
No. There's definitely much worse. But I don't think you're gonna find this. Like you were, like I was saying last week when you had you had said it about the top 10 lists, and then I had said like some of my favorite episodes will just never show up on those lists. This is one instance where like this is in my top 10 of Deep Space Nine, but it just it'll never show up on any list.
Right.
This is a good example.
Yeah.
I think I told you that off the air, but yes.
Yeah, I think you did.
I am Tosk. So anyway, you have another clip. You should talk about this clip.
I do have another clip, and this is another complaint that I have about this. And so this is when they reveal the mystery of Tosk and what the Tosk is, and the whole hunted. Yeah, like, and it's a very quick reveal, and there's very little information. And Cisco, and you'll listen to it here, Cisco goes to this giant outrage morally of like, my God, you're hunting them? It's like, no, wait, like, I know you're getting that impression, but like, you just completely jumped to that conclusion without a whole lot of evidence. So we'll listen to it and go a little more in depth after.
What a disappointment. And after such an entertaining beginning.
Entertaining?
These aliens gave us a great deal of resistance. We wondered how you got their cooperation without violating your oath of silence.
I told them nothing.
But to see you here, caged, helpless. How could you allow this? It is a disgrace to all Tosk, and the most disappointing hunt in memory.
You're saying that this whole thing is a hunt and Tosk is the prey?
You were right. This Tosk is unworthy of such a noble description. For this dishonor, you'll endure the greatest humiliation Tosk can know. To be captured and brought home alive. You will live out your existence on public display. The children can make fun of you. Toss you scraps of food, which is more than you deserve.
Okay, so Cisco, I mean, it's a hard implication that's what they're doing, that it's a hunted species. But for Cisco to just get outraged immediately about that with just that limited amount of information really, really kind of bothers me.
Yeah.
I just feel like you should have I mean, I understand it. If they had to investigate more, the episode would be at least twice as long. But it was one of those things where this is coming off this fact that the Deep Space Nine entire security staff couldn't stop 3 foot soldiers. When O'Brien can knock out one of them by himself later in the episode. Then they go into the brig where this whole interchange happens, and this is the one big reveal. It just I don't know. I didn't believe it. It made me sad for Cisco and kind of a little angry at the writing at that point.
Oh, that's an interesting criticism. I definitely see that. Yeah, it didn't bother me so much, but I can see your point. Yeah, kind of laziness, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's jumped to a conclusion based off of one line, I feel like, and I just don't think that's something that would happen.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, more evidence, like you say, would have been nice, but the parallel with O'Brien telling Tosk about, like, that's Quark's culture, I think kind of is lost on that sense, because I mean that's their culture. So yeah, like, moral by our standards or amoral, but you know, if that's their culture, then I think Cisco should just stand there and not even say anything, really.
Yeah, maybe.
Not even have a rebuttal.
Yeah.
I guess maybe have like a line of shock. Maybe that's all right. Like, you're prey? Like that, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes. I don't know what else to say about this. I feel like we should talk more about it, but I think...
I mean, it's kind of a... I mean, I know you like this episode, and I don't want to belittle it, because for DS9, it's pretty good, but there's not a whole lot to say. It's pretty straightforward, and it's really fast-paced.
Yeah, which is good. You like that.
Yeah, it does go by really quick. I mean, watching it yesterday, I was surprised how... There's been episodes that we've watched for this podcast that I like and I still like, and they feel like they take the full 45, 50 minutes, and this one felt like it was only, just over half an hour.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow, and then it's just over, and I was like, oh, okay, well, we got a lot jammed in that episode, I guess.
That was good pacing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Quark has a lot jammed into that girl, so... I don't know. That was jacked up, man. A little unfortunate season also. Like, once again, as I hear your complaints, like, it's kind of interesting because I agree with you on that, but, like, when I think about the complaints that I have regarding this episode, it's more in the context of, like, the bigger thing of the series, and it's just like, by now you don't have you have a half-assed Kira story with, the terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really have a Dax story. Don't really have a Bashir story. Like, character-wise, I don't think they're too fleshed out yet.
No, not at all.
And it seems so weird that we're already in the 6th episode. Because when we talked about TNG last week, it just seemed like the characters were just there already.
Yeah.
Like they were set. Like, they were ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, we already saw a rape... Well, I guess this was last week what we saw, but we saw a rape gang for Tasha.
And a Kitty Witty.
And a Kitty Witty, yeah. I mean, I feel like the characters are a little bit more there. We don't... I guess in Next Generation, we don't really, at this point, know anything about Geordi, other than he's blind. They gave him that little... I guess they kind of gave everyone a little bit of, like, a hook. So there's something to know about all of them, but nothing really in depth.
That's true, yeah.
So, like, Geordi's a blind guy with the technology, and you got Wesley, who's the kind of boy genius, and you've got Dr. Crusher, who has a history with Picard, and, Troy's an alien, Riker has a history with Troy, obviously Worf's a Klingon, which is new for us to see in Star Trek on a Starfleet ship. Tasha's got a CD background, so they all kind of have something. At this point in DS9, you can't say that. I mean, you can say Dax is a Trill, but that's not too exciting. Odo's kind of a mystery man. Quark's just a Ferengi. Bashir we know from Next Gen, but there's not a whole lot to know. Bashir we don't know anything about, but don't have a reason to really care about him yet.
Yeah.
Who wasn't even in this episode.
That's true. Yes, I did not think about that. But yes, you were right. Well, I think that's everything I want to say about this. It's fun. I love this. Everybody should go look this up. It's a good episode. I mean, it has good moral dilemma and everything.
Yeah, it's not a bad episode.
No. I like it, considering it's Deep Space Nine. I mean, that's always a winner for me. Don't expect it every time I see a Deep Space Nine episode, though. I don't know. What would you give this as a rating?
I'll give it a I don't know. Let's give it 3 novellas and a glass of synthale.
Wow. I need a glass of synthale right now. I'll give it 1 double girl that needs to learn her place. No, I don't. I like how
I like it.
Sexist all of a sudden.
No, it's okay.
Yes, which does not mean it's bad. It means it's good. It's very good. I don't know. What else do you want to say about it?
I don't really have anything else to say about it. I think we've done well.
I think so too.
Or said all that needs to be said.
Yes. Let's get on to our. Oh, jeez. Let's get on to our check.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
This time we're gonna handle things without your help. They're doing their part. Are you?
Take it away, Shaun. Oh, this will be good. I could just listen.
All right. So today, in fact, or at least I think it was today, Rolling Stone came out with its top 40 science fiction television shows of all time. And I saw this on Twitter, and I was trying to figure out, what am I going to talk about? And so I just, when I don't know what I'm going to talk about, I just searched like hashtag Star Trek on Twitter, and this is one of the first things that came up after some Star Trek Beyond nonsense. And I figured we talk about Star Trek Beyond so much, I don't want to talk about that. So this might be a little bit more fun. So anyway, Rolling Stone came up with its top 40 sci-fi shows of all time, and the original series Star Trek is number 1, beating out things like The Twilight Zone, Battlestar Galactica, Doctor Who, The X-Files, and even Next Generation, which Next Generation is also on the list at number 17, so still top 20. They're the only 2 Star Trek shows on this list. I'm trying to think of what else is on there, but I can't think. Orphan Black was on there. That Netflix Marvel series, Jessica Jones, some other stuff. So, I mean, we run a Star Trek podcast. I mean, obviously my favorite Star Trek is the original series, so I'm totally on board with this. I think after that, even Next Generation might be my second. So I'm very much comfortable with the placing of these. I probably, on my list, would have had Next Generation a little bit higher. I also probably would have had Voyager on a list of top 40. But, not a terrible list. I didn't pay attention to where everything was placed at. I did read over the list. But, I don't know, Chris, do you think do you think the original series best sci-fi show ever?
Yeah, I mean,
Is that giving it too much credit?
Well, Oh god. Okay. Sorry, I thought I was gonna cough again. There's maybe only one show that I might have put before it, and that might be Flash Gordon, serial. I'm trying to think of like influence, other than Star Trek. I think that had the most influence. But yeah, I agree with that on the most part. I don't know. Is Flash Gordon even on there?
I don't remember. It might have been. I don't remember seeing it.
I mean,
are you thinking of like the old Flash Gordon? Not the. Oh no, I'm thinking of Buck Rogers. Buck Rogers was the one that had the '80s remake, huh, with the robot.
Yeah, no, not that silly head. No, like the 1930s serials.
Right, that's what I thought you were talking about, but
yeah, no, that was that good Flash Gordon, but yeah, no, like that series, influenced a lot of directors and stuff later on, like Lucas and Spielberg and such.
Yeah,
but yeah, other than that, I mean, you just have the original series. Like, the original series is an influential science fiction show because so much is based off of it.
Yeah, and I would argue that Star Trek, especially now it's been 50 years, has a little bit more longevity than maybe some of these others. Maybe some of these others were influential, but I think maybe less popular overall.
Yeah.
One of my favorites on the list, actually, that came in at 39, so just two from the bottom, was Eon Flux, which I love that cartoon.
Oh, yeah, man, I haven't seen that in years.
It was, yeah, one of my favorites, and still is. As soon as it came out on DVD, I bought it. I still have it, and I still watch them every now and then.
Yeah. You got caught up on this stuff. Is that on Netflix at all?
I don't think so, but it might be on Hulu because Hulu has a lot of MTV shows.
I want my MTV.
Futurama is number 30.
Oh, wow, that seems low.
Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is 29, which I watched a couple episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and didn't like it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I haven't seen that at all. I heard it's highly rated, though, huh?
I guess. I don't know. I couldn't do it.
Maybe replace Voyager with that.
The Modern Flash is on the list. The Flash that's currently going on.
How come this seems so new? Like, all these shows seem really new. Because Orphan Black just came out this year, too, huh?
No, Orphan Black's a couple of years old because they're on their second or third season now.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Yeah. Quantum Leap, Babylon 5 is on there.
Wow. Huh. What else? Anything else good?
Torchwood, Fringe, Lost, Astro Boy, the original Astro Boy.
Oh, that black and white one?
Yeah. The Outer Limits, of course. Black Mirror, which sounds interesting, but I've seen. Buffy, which whatever. Firefly, which is kind of probably a fan favorite. I think I mentioned the X-Files is on there. If you want to do like top 10, it's Star Trek, Twilight Zone, Battlestar Galactica, the modern one, of course, Doctor Who, The Prisoner, which was a 60s show I've never seen. I don't even know what The Prisoner is. X-Files, Firefly, Buffy, Black Mirror, and number 10 is The Outer Limits.
Wow.
So,
huh.
Yeah, these do seem very modern, though. Everything that I've mentioned kind of looked through, or like they have some older ones in here, but
yeah, I wouldn't have Flash Gordon on there. Where's the War of the Worlds? Nice. That's good to have that. What do I have? Oh, I have some more Deep Space Nine news. They're gonna make an episode out of Once More Under the Breach, which is an episode of Deep Space Nine. So that's coming up. That'll be fun. Get to fight some Cardassians, maybe. Price, more news here on the Temporal Special Agent Pack. I don't know if I'm going to buy this. I want it, but I don't. I don't know. $129.99. Do I want to spend $130 for ships and a title that is fake? I don't know. I mean, it looks cool. The thing is like the Constitution class is still just a T1, and the ships that are T6s are really, I don't know, they're funky looking. They look like they're out of Tron, to be honest with you. They're not too inspiring. It's pretty bad when I got more excited after seeing the details of the Agents of Yesterday pack. Got more excited at the fact that there's going to be a Deep Space Nine episode in Agents of Yesterday, which is bizarre, but yeah. Once More Into the Breach is pretty cool. That's that Klingon episode where they go out to battle. Of course they do. To fight the Klingons. I mean, to fight the Cardassians.
Right.
Because, you know, gotta have war now. Which is weird. Like, I was okay with today's episode, even though there's very little moral stuff that you could pull out of that, you know, or not moral, philosophical, you know, stuff, but
it's true.
I was okay with that. Like, I was okay if that was the direction that Deep Space Nine was going, but it just went too far in that direction, where let's just, you know, be war all the time.
Yeah.
Constantly, like every week. But anyway, that's the Stowe news I have.
Nice.
You gonna spend $130, Shaun, so you can run around in a TOS costume?
No. I'm not going to do that.
They give you a ripped shirt. They give you a ripped shirt, which is hilarious. I might do it. Like, I wonder if they'll have that as a costume pack. If they have that as a costume pack, I'll make a red shirt character just so you can have a ripped up red shirt. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I want that pack so bad, but not for $130. Maybe for like $50, but maybe. I don't know. Cryptic gets greedy. Greedy Cryptic. Greedy. I feel like there's like a donkey in my nose, Shaun.
All right.
All right, let's get to Film Trek.
Saddle up. Lock and load. Star Trek Insurrection is the #1 action movie in America. Moving people out! The New York Times calls it seductively appealing.
Watching the movies, take a few notes. It was fun.
It's my turn this week. Yay! So, CinemaSins came out with reviews, and I got pissed. I did not like the reviews. They reviewed the motion picture, and last night they posted a review of The Wrath of Khan. And I've never actually sat through a CinemaSins thing before. I don't even know if you could call it a review. But what essentially it is it just like takes you to the movie, through the movie, and it's talking like this. It's talking really, really fast, and then it's like cussing, and then it has to block out the cuss words, and, you know, like that. And while it's like, you know, cussing and talking really fast and pointing out the most obvious things and stuff that I don't understand are sins or make a movie bad, it like has this like little sin counter at the top, and you know, it's counting the minutes, which like is stupid because you're on YouTube watching a video, so like you're seeing how long you've been watching it, but they're telling you how long you're watching it, which is redundant. But also to like borrow to borrow what Shaun did last week, I copied and pasted a comment from an individual that was on the Wrath of Khan review, this CinemaSins review, and this person said, mark this day as an important day in history. The Wrath of Khan has only 7 sins less than both Star Trek 09 and Into Darkness combined. J.J. Abrams has officially owned Nicholas Meyer. How do you say that? Do you say pwned or pond? Pwned?
I say pwned.
Pwned. I just say owned. Because, you know,
Yeah.
it looks like owned, and it's just like with a weird line in front of it, I guess. Pwned.
Yeah.
But it's,
like-
pwned.
Right.
I don't know. Nobody talks like that in Pueblo. What the heck? Morals over here. I don't know. I want to get your opinion on these because I watched these and I thought they were the dumbest videos ever. What did you think?
I had a pretty hard time with them too. So some of them are subjective. Well, a lot of it's subjective because in the Wrath of Khan, he takes away sins. So he has a counter, a ticker, like Chris said, that counts the sins. And I guess we should describe what a sin is. Every time he has a nitpick or a complaint or anything to say about a scene, that's considered a sin. But he arbitrarily will subtract sins. I don't think he does any in the motion picture, but he does some in the Wrath of Khan, where it's just like, oh, a great ending, minus 20 sins. It's like, well, no, like you can't just subtract. Just that means it's not adding during that period of time, like you're doing with the other ones. So I didn't like that. First of all, second of all, they are very nitpicky. It's the entire like. You just keep going through, and I understand a lot of people have a lot of complaints about the motion picture, but some of the complaints are ridiculous. Some of the complaints are a little valid. I understand. Like, no movie is perfect. Certainly, no Star Trek movie is perfect. They're kind of a mess, in some regards. But I feel like to count them like this, to just completely tear the movies down, because they do this with more than just Star Trek. These aren't the only two. They have, I saw like Iron Man and some others. I just watched these right before the show and had never heard of them before. But I don't know. To me, they're slightly offensive because some of them are just completely arbitrary. They're like digging and stretching for material, it seems like, almost in some cases. I wish I'd taken notes so I could remember some of them, but in Wrath of Khan, Bones complains about how could you think of a food at a time like this when they're stuck in the Genesis cave. And one of the complaints is it's like, well, listen to Kirk, that is the first part of human strategy. It's like, well, they also went through a terrible tragedy just now. Like, maybe he's just not hungry. Like that, one can lose their appetite as well. It's like just minor stuff like that. One of the other sins was Spock dies, but he comes back in the next movie, and it's like, well, nobody knew that at 1982.
Yeah.
And me and you have talked about that. Me and you have talked about is making the redemption movie or the resurrection movie belittle the original. But that, I mean, that's a different discussion. But that, you know, I think it's worthy of a discussion, not like a bullet point.
Yeah, we should bring that up next. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like these. I was not happy.
Yeah, I didn't like. One of the weird things that I didn't like was, there's a scene in there where where they're laying down the torpedo, but they're like bringing up the floorboards there, and
yes,
like we've talked about it being a submarine before, like that being an inspiration, and that was like the fact that they're doing that is one of the sins. I don't like that. Like for some reason that got under my skin, but like just because Scotty's nephew there, that's a sin, and like that wouldn't be a sin if you didn't know what was going to happen to him.
Right.
So just by him being there, like that's somehow a knock against the film.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Oh, and going with the naval thing, one of the sins is that they call everybody, including the females, Mr., as in Mr. Savick.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that was one of the sins.
Kind of a Navy thing in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, I even complained about Savick's line when she gets in about her hair being regulation. That was a sin. And like her turning around in a chair. Like the first sin is like her turning around in a chair. I was just like,
Right.
oh my god! As soon as that happened, I was like, what the hell is this?
Well, the chair can swivel on purpose, like.
Yeah, they're looking at the crewman's butt. No, you don't know what they were. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Talk about a nitpick. Like that is like an ultimate nitpick.
I mean, the original, and the only time this happens, as a side note, but the original series bridge on into the movies, the captain's chair could spin around so he could see everybody that he needed to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah, and I found myself wanting to defend the motion picture a bit more after watching this than I ever did want to before. Like, I never had any complaint or never thought it was bad that there was matte paintings until I saw this. Like, not to say that I think it's bad now, but that's just what the technology was. Like, what did you expect?
I mean, are they gonna like? I want to see. I want to go look up and see if there's a Blade Runner thing, because Blade Runner is so many matte paintings. That movie looks beautiful even now.
Yeah, that's a good point. So are they just gonna, how many sins does that movie get?
Yeah, and if I created a top 40 sci-fi movies of all time, Blade Runner would probably be number 1.
See, it can be on your Rolling Stone list.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that agree with me. Like, Blade Runner is an awesome movie, and I'm not in a minority there of saying that.
No,
but Blade Runner is a good example of what you can do with matte paintings.
Yeah, so I mean that was ridiculous. Some of the throwaway sins about about Spock I thought were a little bit off too. I just thought were uncalled for. The only one that I don't know, and I think they try to make fun of the fact that the Seventh Heaven guy was
a pedophile.
Yeah, because like the scene where he meets Kirk, like they just do the sin, but like the sin is just this is awkward, but that's the sin, and I was just like, oh my god, well that's just stupid. What else happened? Of course, they have to talk about the dry dock,
Yeah, I was going to say Robert Weiss. They complained that Robert Weiss was the director because he was the director of Sound of Music and West Side Story. So why not have him direct your sci-fi movie?
Oh yeah, they do.
I'm just like, yeah, he helped create 2 giant movies from stage plays, 2 big budget movies. And did them well. Why not have him do a sci-fi movie?
Yeah.
And I don't think the direction's terrible in the motion picture. The pacing may be off. And that movie does suffer from editing because that movie was rushed, and that's not Robert Weiss's fault.
No. Whoever thought that Justin Lin would be doing, Star Trek, so whatever. That's a dumb thing. You know what else I thought it was dumb about that was when the beginning the soundtrack for the motion picture, and then one of the sins is that I didn't know the Next Generation ripped off this theme. Well, it's the same guy. It's the same guy that wrote it,
Mm-hmm.
But somehow that's a sin.
Going off that too, one of the first sins is that the motion picture has an overture.
Yep.
Which I don't have any problem with.
A lot of epic movies did. I mean, nobody complains about Gone with the Wind or anything. Although I don't think Gone with the Wind actually has an overture.
I don't remember.
I haven't seen that movie in like 3 years. I had to watch it for a class.
The movie was made in like 24 too, so
yeah. Yeah, I can't remember what else. But anyway, people should go look at these and let us know what you think of them. I'm curious what other people think. I don't know. But I don't know if this guy's being ironic or not. Maybe he is being ironic. J.J. Abrams has officially pwned Nicholas Meyer. Maybe he's smart enough to call that out. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. It doesn't make... I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, yes. So those are a thing. That's all I have to say about that. Let's get on to audience track then.
Open hailing frequencies.
Frequencies open, sir.
This is Jean-Luc Picard, captain of the Enterprise. Klaxon Ries Bluisblanar Nick Karnik.
If you disagree with us and you think that Cinema Sins is completely right, then you should let us know. How can they let us know, Shaun?
As we said at the top of the show, you can always email us. Our email is thetrekbrothers@gmail.com. We are constantly checking our Twitter, and on Twitter you can find us as a team at the Twitter handle @thetrekbrothers, all one word. If you want to get a hold of us individually, you can find Chris at Lethargic Nerd, all one word. You can find me at Shaun Makita, again, all one word. My name is ShaunMikita. We do have a website. Our website is thetrekbrothers.wix.com/home. On our website, you can find blogs that haven't been updated in a little while. You can find links to our SoundCloud and iTunes, which always have the most current episode of the Trek Brothers podcast on them. It also has links to our YouTube, which has not only the most recent, but every past episode of the Trek Brothers podcast on there. Side note, if you just want to go to the YouTube or search us on YouTube, you can search the Trek Brothers and we'll come up and you'll see the full playlist of all 24 episodes or 25 episodes. What are we on now?
This is episode 25.
25. Happy 25. Plus one trailer reaction video there, so which was a mini episode.
Yes.
So
we're well on our way.
There you go.
Hopefully next week, I am not a lethargic nerd next week. I've had a rough week. I thought I was going to die. Yeah. I had the flu.
You got the Zika?
No. Man, can you imagine having the Zika virus?
The Zika hasn't made it to Colorado yet, has it?
No, not yet. Now, we always have rabies. Did you ever always find that funny about Pueblo? Like, be like, 3 people got rabies this year. And be like, why is that a thing in this town? What are you doing, people? You see like a raccoon, and you're just like, I wonder what that feels like.
Well, I guess there's a couple people that get plague out here every year, so.
Oh yeah, it's crazy that that's a thing still.
Yeah, because like fleas have it, and it lives in rodents, and then people take their dogs or go to the mountains by themselves and get bit by those fleas. Plague.
People are crazy. Don't touch the plague. So yes, hopefully next week I have like 1,000 billion times more energy, which I'm sure I will. Freaking dying right now though. Could be worse though. I could be Tosk. I am Tosk. One of us. All right.
I am Tosk.
Sweet. I am Tosk. I love that. I love that. I love this episode. All right. I think that's enough for me.
I don't have anything to add. Oh, I guess my dog does, though. My dog's really upset that we're leaving.
Puppy, puppy. All right.
My dog's just really upset that there's a skateboard going by outside. So.
I'm going to leave everybody. This is a good song. I'm going to leave. We talked about Tosk today. I'm going to leave you with a song called Tusk.
Makes sense.
This is Fleetwood Mac, you know?
Yeah, it is. I know.
I like Stevie Nicks.
This is old? Yeah, this is Stevie Nicks era?
Yeah.
Mac? Okay. Oh, yeah. Obviously.
Hey, listen, everybody out there. If you like Tosk as much as me, you should tell me. Or if you don't, that's okay. Because I don't care what kind of Trek you like. As long as you like Star Trek, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
I am Tosk.
Alright, fade out on